Hey everyone, this is Turd Flinging Monkey. Sorry if you hear like popping in the background, it's just people setting off fireworks, I apologize. However, I do think it's appropriate that this is 4th of July weekend and I'm responding to a video by CS MGTOW called Economic Systems, Trade-Offs and Gynocentrisms Part 2 MGTOW. And this is the long-awaited kind of Part 2 of this conversation between me, CS MGTOW and No Holds Barred about the free market, the resource-based economy, and the scientific meritocracy. Now, I was looking forward to this video for a while because I've never heard of a scientific meritocracy. I was interested in learning more. Now, the video is only 2 minutes shy of an hour, so it's not an easy watch, but I'll provide a link in the description. And in the video, CS MGTOW rightly points out all of the problems, the trade-offs of a free market system, the violence, the disenfranchised men turn to violence. Did I mention the violence? Yeah, there's a lot of violence in a free market system. A small minority of people really benefit, and a lot of other people don't benefit. It's just like nature. I mean, the free market is almost the natural order when it comes to societies. But in most species, you have predation, you have death, you have violence, you have all this shit. But this is the mechanism whereby survival of the fittest and evolution occurs and propels the species forward. It is interesting, and CS MGTOW makes this point himself, that the free market is excellent at producing all of these goods and all these advancements. But at a certain point, humans don't want to be subject to evolution because they know there's going to be more losers than winners. And they may look around and be like, you know what? I think I'm in the loser category and I don't like that, but there's nothing I can do about it. So let's create a new system. I don't like this system where I'm going to lose, so let's create a new system. Let's rewrite the rules. And then they create governments to protect them from natural selection. Especially women, because they value security much more than freedom. The problem with people in general, not just women, but most men as well, very few people outside of the successful kind of alpha males, I guess, I don't know, value freedom more than security. If you talk to people who are libertarians, if you walk into a libertarian convention, you're going to see a lot of upper middle class white people. And the reason why is really simple. They don't require the government to get along because they're in the upper middle class, or they're rich. But they're certainly not poor, they're not relying on government services. So, of course they want the government out of their way, they're the ones paying the taxes and they're not receiving any benefit. The people paying the taxes and not receiving the benefit want government to go away. And the people receiving the benefits and not paying the taxes, they want more government. I mean, it's not rocket science. You can just look at someone and be like, okay, you're dependent on the government. I'm going to guess you're part of this party. I'm going to guess you're going to vote for this person. And you're going to be right almost 99% of the time. So do I think a free market can work? Absolutely. But people are not going to like it because, again, there's more losers than winners in life. Just like there's more losers than winners in evolution and in nature. And the people in that category don't like that. And they're going to try to create a new system through violence if necessary. Free market is not a perfect system. But it is based on human nature. It is based on how nature naturally functions. When you look at all the available systems that are viable, you have communism, you have capitalism, you have all these different systems, the free market performs best. It achieves the best outcomes for the most number of people. Now, of course, there are losers in a free market system, but it produces the best results for the most people. And the people who do not benefit are the people you probably don't want benefiting. Like as CS MGTOW pointed out, when the free market creates all this innovation and saves billions of lives from starvation and so forth, it actually creates a lot more people that the world has to then feed. And this may or may not be a good thing. Now, in regards to CS MGTOW's long-awaited system of scientific meritocracy, I was really excited to hear more about it, and then I was really disappointed to find out what it was. It's basically a ruling class, which, what can I say? I was hoping for something original, but no, it's just a ruling class. And I've made the point myself in a couple of my videos, not in the video itself, but in the comment section, that when it comes to government, there's like a pendulum, and it goes from an idiocracy to a ruling class, back to an idiocracy, back to a ruling class. When you have a ruling class, it inevitably becomes corrupt. No matter how many checks and balances you put in place, like CS MGTOW talks about having elections and having things like honesty and education and philosophy, kind of like the philosopher king system in ancient Greece. But the idea was having this group of elected people become the rulers, but they were elected by themselves. Like, you couldn't just give everyone the vote and have them vote for these people. Only a certain group of people could vote, so it was basically a club electing its own members to be the ruling class of all of society. How do you prevent that ruling class from becoming corrupt? Because that's what always seems to happen with a ruling class. How do you prevent those not in the ruling class from rising in rebellion? So I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not saying it can't work. I'm just saying, how do you get it to work long term without the ruling class becoming corrupt and veering away from the goals set forth in the scientific meritocracy itself, namely propelling mankind to the stars, which I am totally on board with. In fact, the main reason I'm in favor of a free market system is because of the scientific innovation. Now, C.S. Minktow points out that it would take too long for that, and we may run out of natural resources before we reach that. But it really comes down to, who do you trust the least? Do you trust the government, or do you trust private companies the least? And I don't blame you for picking one or the other. I honestly don't. I mean, when it comes to people in general, people are always looking out for themselves. The government's looking out for its own interests, private companies are looking out for their own interests. Neither one of them deserve your trust. But who do you trust the least? And the reason why I trust the government least, and thus turn to private companies as the way forward, is because private companies have to earn your vote every day. The government can have an election once every 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, whenever. It could be rigged, it could not be rigged, who knows? But the government has an election, they spend however many months ahead of the election to try to convince you to vote one way or the other, and after the election, you can fuck off and die. They don't give a shit about what you think. Because the election's over, they won, whoever that person is who won, they won. And now they can impose their will on the rest of the people who didn't vote for them because majority rule, and there's nothing you can do about it until the next election, which could be in 2, 4, 8 years, who knows. Whereas with a private company, you can make that choice every day. You're not assigned to any company. Now, you are in some cases, but that's because of the government. But for example, if you don't want to shop at a Walmart because you don't like their business practices, you think they should pay their workers more, you could drive a little out of your way, pay a little more, and shop somewhere else. And that puts money in the pocket of a rival of Walmart rather than Walmart. And if enough people do that, if enough people vote with their wallet, companies change their behavior. They fire their CEOs, they replace their board members, companies react to economic incentives. Politicians react to political incentives, who vote for them, who donates to them. Neither of them is more moral, neither of them is more sure to create better outcomes than the other, but one occurs every day, and one occurs every couple years. Imagine going to a grocery store and having 2 shopping carts full of food, and you had to pick one of those shopping carts and buy everything in the shopping cart. So you would look at these 2 shopping carts, and you would look at kind of what was in them, you'd try to find the one that had the most things you liked and pick that shopping cart and have to pay $100-some-odd for everything in that shopping cart. And maybe you don't even use 20% of it, maybe 20% of it you throw away or give away. But you have to pay for it because it's part of this shopping cart that was pre-selected for you. That's how our political system works. You basically walk in and you get 2 shopping carts, some of the things you like, some of the things you don't, and you just pick the one that you like the most. The one that's closest to what you actually want, because you can't actually get what you want. But with a free market system, you could walk in with your shopping cart and fill it with exactly what you want, pay for only what you want, and leave with exactly what you want. So how do you deal with the disenfranchised men who can't get no pussy, who are going to rise up and try to slay the people on top who have the harems or whatever? How do you deal with it? You deal with it by killing them. Unfortunately, that's really how you deal with it. War is unfortunately a part of life. There's going to be war in a scientific meritocracy. There's going to be war in a resource-based economy. There's going to be war in a free market system. It's just part of life. I mean, animals kill each other. They fight over resources. And even if you have a resource-based economy where robots harvest all these resources and create an infinite number of resources, well, the truth is you can't create infinite resources. You can create many more resources, you can make them cheaper, but you can't make them infinite, because the Earth is only so big. So eventually the population grows until resources become scarce again. So in the end, you're going to have finite resources, people are going to fight over those resources, and that's going to lead to war. It could be water, it could be food, it could be gasoline, it could be medicine, it could be ammunition, it could be women. but all resources are going to be fought over. And that's not just human nature, that's just nature. That's all nature. Survival and reproduction. In order to achieve those things, some people have to lose. When you fuck a woman and have a child, that woman is not fucking and having a child with another man. You had to compete for that woman with another man. You had to deny him the right to reproduce in order for you to fuck and reproduce with that woman. When you eat food, that's food that's not being eaten by something else. Animal or vegetable or something, I don't know. You see what I'm getting at? It's so ingrained in nature itself that there's just really no use fighting it. You have to accept that this is just part of life. And I'm not embracing it and saying this is good. I would love a world where war was no longer a problem, where we could convince people through rational discussion about, what would be best for them and everyone would be happy. But that's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, ever. Some people are just never going to be convinced. Sometimes you're going to have people with conflicting goals, where one goal can only be achieved at the expense of the other. And in the absence of some sort of compromise, someone's going to have to lose. And if they won't lose gracefully, it's going to come to violence. So you're going to have to kill them. And you need to be comfortable with that. And I don't think a scientific meritocracy solves this problem. I do like that it focuses the resources of the society on scientific advancement. Essentially what C.S. MGTOW points out is that under a scientific meritocracy, the government would take these resources, instead of letting it being spent on, let's say, the new iPhone, you could have it be spent on space exploration. This is kind of like what happened during World War II and the Cold War, when the government used a lot of people's taxpayer money to fund war programs, space exploration, etc. So this would be kind of a return to that. Except there wouldn't be a war going on to incentivize that sort of innovation. The whole reason why we were exploring space wasn't because, we want humanity to go to the stars. We did it because we were at war with Russia. We didn't want Russia to turn the moon into some kind of Star Wars Death Star and shoot a laser at us. That's why we went to the moon. In order to get to space, in order to have this glorious star future of space exploration and three-breasted aliens, we have to have war. War is what incentivizes people to create this innovation. The only argument that I can actually see C.S. MGTOW's point is in regards to natural resources. With consumer capitalism, we consume a lot of resources in order to create all this stupid shit that we buy. And a lot of it isn't necessarily enhancing our lives, it's just a lot of goofy shit. So I could see a government redirecting those resources to something more productive, more conducive to getting us to space, rather than developing a new iPhone or video game. I can see that. And his fear is we don't have time because, we're running out of resources and so forth. I don't necessarily agree with him, but I don't know. We're definitely having too many kids. We're definitely consuming a lot more than we probably should, but what is the answer? Is the answer to impose some sort of ruling class and redirect the resources? I actually think we're just due for another war. Good world war would really just solve this problem. Just kill a lot of people, and then, you got fewer people, using fewer resources. Hopefully the dumb shits get killed off first. That would be just awesome. Just kill off the retards. Oh my gosh, the world would be so much better. Now, some of you are horrified by what I just said. And some of you, like, what's his face, Just Pro Male, are like, oh my god, he's saying men are gonna die, and it's so bad, he's so anti-male. I'm just pointing out the obvious. This is how nature works. If you're an effeminate pussy, you're going to die in any situation because nobody values effeminate pussy men. I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. I wish you the best, but in any situation, you're not going to benefit. There is no social system where pussy beta men are valued as men. Women don't value them because they have no utility. Men don't value them because they're fucking pussies and then men can assert their dominance over them. There is no system where they benefit. The best thing they can do is just go somewhere away from everyone and just kind of live as a hermit. Go talk to the animals or something, I don't know. But pointing that out doesn't mean I hate you and I want you to die. I'm pointing out that you're probably going to die. So do something about it. Do some push-ups, I don't know. I'm just pointing out how nature works. I'm not endorsing it, I'm not saying it's good or bad, nature just is. You just gotta accept it. But I want to close this video on a positive note to C.S. MGTOW. I'm open-minded to this scientific meritocracy. My main concerns are the effectiveness of a ruling class avoiding becoming corrupt over time, and preventing revolution by the people who lose their power I guess the second one can be avoided if the ruling class takes care of the needs of the people underneath them. I mean, the main reason why people foment rebellions is because their needs aren't being met. If the ruling class is more benevolent towards the common people and allowed them to have some degree of higher standard of living and resources and stuff like that, happiness and peace, they're probably not going to rise in rebellion. I mean, you see movies like Braveheart. They didn't rise in rebellion because, they wanted to have votes. They rose in rebellion because the king was an asshole and he was like fucking their women and, killing their people and stuff like that. That's why people form rebellions. It's not just because, no, but we want to vote, we're gonna go fuck shit up. No. It's because they're starving or they're being killed. It takes an extraordinary amount of pressure and violence to incentivize people to actually rise up in rebellion. So I'm just going to pass the ball back to CS. I'd like to hear more, but I do look forward to hearing the next installment of this conversation. This is Turd Flinging Monkey. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.